What's up, folks? Welcome to the build video of the AJ 103-inch slick. As you can tell, I've already started on the plane, and that's because I lost about an hour's worth of video due to some issues with my computer. But you didn't miss much. I got the landing gear on, I got the rudder on, tail wheel, but I did a cool time lapse of me unboxing it. You don't get to enjoy that, sorry. But I figured I'd take a second and go over the things that I missed in the video that got lost. We'll go through that and then we'll get started on the video. We'll do the wings now. We're going to do the control horns. Get them installed, and it's just like the rudder. We're going to sand what I've already done here. We're going to sand both sides of the contact points on the control horn, and then we're going to sand the bottom one side of this piece, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so once you get the control horns sanded, and you're going to temporarily install them and tape off all around the edge of the plate there. And then what we're going to do is remove that and take the X-Acto and cut the covering underneath it so that the glue has a solid place to stick to. That's what it look like when you're done. That way it has this little bit of covering that the plate is going to overlap when we put it back in. That way it's got a nice good seal on top of the covering, but you expose all that wood for the glue to stick to. Planes conveniently come with a little string. What was that? Alright, so what I like to do is put heat shrink on all my servo connections. I just cut it to length and shrink it down.
You want me to go get the blowtorch?
You have a blowtorch?
Yeah, babe. You want me to get it?
No, it's okay.
It'd be way more fun. It's a brulee torch. Thanks. See?
Here's a tip I learned in a YouTube video. Screwing on your linkages here, these things are a pain to turn on. You set it on a drill, snug it up, and then hold the rod. And it's done, just like that. Thing on the setup, you want to make sure that, well, I like to make sure that I got a 1-to-1 ratio. So I've got a 1 3/4 inch arm on the servo, and from the hinge line up to where the ball link connects is also roughly 1 3/4. That gives a good 1-to-1 ratio for the servo resolution, even though I'm running a little bit bigger arms for 3D since this one will be a freestyle plane. But that's also good for the precision IMAC setups. Have like a 1-inch arm and then have 1 inch from your hinge line up to your control link connection. All right, so now we're going to finish buttoning up, get this all centered up, and then go on from there. All right, so now that we got the control horns on, the servos in, I like to go ahead and be done with the wing. And one of the tips I learned from watching Juan Sanchez on the Skybound RC YouTube channel was to put the wing on upside down, and makes it a lot easier to program your servos and get them all matched up. You just have to remember you're doing the right wing when it's on the left side. So let's go ahead and get that hooked up. What I'm gonna do, center the servos with PWM center and get them perfectly 90 degrees. Get the arm perfectly 90 degrees, and then I'm going to connect the control linkage and center up the control surface on the master servo. And then we'll go and sync the secondary servo to the master. All right, so you can see here we got the servo centered with PWM center. Got the control linkage done, and you can see the aileron is extremely high. So what we're going to do is just turn this. The master servo is done. I've set my max and minimum to 38 degrees both ways. Then I went to the secondary servo and I set up center, and one of the ways I do that is I put the screw in and I adjust the control rod until I get, there's no tension at center right now. Everything's on, 0 tension. And then I go full direction one way and full direction the other and dial those in until I get the same tension at the max throws both directions. So now I've got center set, I've got max throw in both directions, also set with no tension. And so now what we're going to do is go into the radio, and I use a FrSky X20RS, and FrSky has the option to go in here and balance the channels. So I can go in there and say that I want to do the right inboard and the right outboard. And then from there, I'm just going to go in and go through each point in the travel and set. So I've got 9 points throughout the travel that I'm going to go in and make and fine tune so that I have no tension on the secondary servo throughout the entire range of throw. And then this wing will be done. And so this is a good time to mention I didn't have to change anything on the balance. I don't know if the screen's going to show this or not. Perfectly linear. There was no tension at any of the points throughout the range of travel, and that's all due to a proper geometry setup. The servos are perfectly square to themselves, 90-degree arms. I've got a 1-to-1 ratio from hinge line to control point, and everything was centered. So throughout the entire range now, I have zero binding, no tension whatsoever on the servos, and they're perfectly matched now. So we're ready to move on to the other wing.